brauchen hier einen Tonmann. Hallo? Ah, ja. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the press conference. As it's spoken English here and German and also some Spanish, we have simultaneous translation. So everyone who doesn't have earphones yet is kindly asked to get some behind, so you can switch English or German or Spanish. Thank you very much. We will start shortly.
Habari za Aburu, Azubui, Duri, Dobro Ranku, Bom dia, Buenos dias, Good morning, Bonjour, einen schönen guten Morgen zu Ihnen allen. Herzlich willkommen hier.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our press conference at the occasion of the opening of the East Wing of the Humboldt Forum. Professor Parzinger will take the floor after me, and afterwards we will have a panel discussion with guests from abroad, and I'm very happy to welcome all of you. We are happy to welcome our partners here. We've been together for a few days already, and I'm particularly happy to have you around. There are a number of people who have been with us for a long time already, so good morning, everybody. Since December 2020, since we've finished the building, the Humboldt Forum has entered its process of opening, so to speak, a process which will end today. This is what the founding directors and managers of the forum had planned, and this is what we wanted to do. So the idea to open this wonderful institution in stages has been a well-founded and good decision, in spite of the fact that, of course, we would have done without the limitations due to Corona, because of which we did not have the opportunity to meet so many people from abroad in all these years. And that's the great moment. We are celebrating these days. Now, we opened the building in June last year for the audience, and a successful first year has passed. 1.5 million visitors have explored the building from the basement to the rooftop terrace. We had parties in the Schlüterhof. We had kindergarten children here. And we had a wonderful event last year, and this year, once again, Durchlüften was the title, and it's been even more successful this year in terms of attendance than last year, twice as many visitors as in 2021. There is a curious audience we are welcoming day by day, and they are not only passing the word to others, they are coming back time and again. Now, this is the end of the opening phase, and the Humboldt Forum will be fully opened and inaugurated, and we will have a 24-hour event this weekend, and you can have a look at the exhibitions with Mr. Koch in the early morning. That's for the early birds, and the night owls can accompany me, because we will have a late night tour as well, and we will have lots of guests from all over the world in all the different segments and sectors of our exhibition. So please be cordially invited and inspired and tempted to embark on an encounter with many people from many different countries in all the exhibition halls and galleries, because that's what the Humboldt Forum is actually about, being a place of encounter, having an opportunity and offering a space for an exchange with others. Let's talk about ideas, let's talk about opinions, let's meet others, and this is what we will offer from today on and the whole week. And we are also grateful to our partners we have met in those past few days. We've visited the exhibitions, we have talked, we had a number of debates in order to figure out what can be done in order to carry on with this wonderful, inspiring and creative encounter. Now, the temporary exhibitions are an exemplary example of this approach. As you will see, as you have seen maybe already, but as you will see later, but also the exhibitions we have mounted with a number of partners like the EMAKU or Haida Gwaii from the Umar, the Naga from Tanzania, and also the sculpture collection in the Bode Museum. You see that the curatorial concepts are very different, and the scenographic realizations are also as diverse as the themes and objects. Now, we have embarked, we are moving forward together. However, we know that the way we pursue is an open one, which requires a bit of flexibility. Sometimes our timetables don't quite work the way we plan them to work. Many of the exhibitions reflect the great global challenges we are meeting today, but we are doing this intentionally in the hope of giving impulses for a life in solidarity and a more just and peaceful coexistence. Of course, the war in Ukraine and wars in many other parts of the world remind us time and again that it's important to coexist peacefully, and we are happy to have lots of colleagues from Ukraine with the State Museums of Berlin and also with the Humboldt Forum, and we are also closely in touch with a number of colleagues in Ukraine these days. They are present in the Humboldt Forum. But we want to benefit from the force opening also in order to have a closer look at what is happening in the East, in Eastern Asia, for example. Now, the East Wing once again underlines what the Humboldt Forum can be and wants to be a platform for a dialogue. We are recognizing a particular urban society, a cityscape and its people. And of course, we would like to address a broad audience, lots of different people. And that is also the reason why the permanent exhibitions and the temporary ones in these days are open to all with free admission. I would like to thank all those who have helped us do all this in spite of the problems we are feeling in the global supply chains. I mean, who'd ever expected that wood would become a scarcity in international supply, as you will see in one of our exhibitions, which has not been finished yet because we haven't got the wood we would need. But lots of the curators, restaurators, educators, and many others have worked on the 5,600 exhibits that we show online these days. That's our new portal, museumonline.humboldtforum.org. I would like to thank, among others, the Museum for Asian Art and others for having helped us do all this, and we are eager to do even more in terms of collaboration in this building. Now, the same goes for the wonderful program we are offering this weekend. It shows what we can do by combining our strengths and creativity. Now, in addition to the talks in the exhibitions I've mentioned already, talks with international partners, we offer an international Sour Power Club night, a stage program of Slavs, Tatars, well-known artists curated in the Schlüterhof. This is, by the way, also part of the special program of the Berlin Art Week. And, of course, we do have a children's program. Once again, you will see in the building there are 4 different colors for the lines we use in the building that help you find the talks or the events. They are your guidelines in the truest sense of the word. We've also published a new book about the works in the exhibition, but also on the artworks which combine with the architecture of the building. We also have a number of other books and items dating back to the past and referring to the history of the site, the pharmacy of the castle, Schloss Apotheke, or exhibits and items reminding you of the revolution of 1918. Now, what will be the message, the lesson, so to speak, of this first year? We've met lots of people, an audience with a lot of curiosity. We have presented projects, cooperations with many partners from all over the world, but we've also realized the responsibility of the curators, and it's important that we listen to each other and that we are eager to embark risks and that we are flexible also there where projects develop in a different way than anticipated or fail. But we want to be a democratic workshop for global themes. That's what the coalition agreement says, by the way, which had also been adopted within the first year of the opening phases of the Humboldt Forum. Others call it a construction site, but I would like to remind you that our cooperation with our partners has shown us once again that we need to trust each other, we need patience, we need stability, we need time, and of course we need funding. A solid, stable funding for the Humboldt Forum in order to continue with this cooperation. Now, after the end of the opening phases, the inauguration, we need to be sustainable. And I'm not only talking about the building, I talk about the program because the Humboldt Forum is on now.
Ja, meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, the Humboldt Forum is finished. Really? From today on, or from tomorrow on, all parts of the building are open to the public. But as you have realized, certainly it's a process and it will never be truly finished. And that's good, actually. A lot of things have developed in the course of the development of the project, of the Humboldt Forum, and there's a lot of dynamics which we will feel. I mean, it's exciting. Lots of things things are very different today from what they had been planned. I mean, for me, it's also a special moment. For 14 years, I've been dealing with this project. Hardly any other cultural project has triggered so many debates and disputes in the building. Everybody focused on the building, such a castle in a republic. Afterwards, we talked about the colonial context of the collections. So from looking at our own belly buttons, we started looking to or at our relationship with the global south. And of course, there are differences. And we had lots of years in this project, which triggered a lot of learning. In 20 years ago, the German Bundestag decided to reopen the Berlin Castle as a Humboldt Forum. But of course, in 2 decades, societies change and museums have to change as well. The most important change for us has been the close and excellent collaboration with the countries of origin and the societies of origin. The Foundation for Prussian Property has reacted. We have created positions for transcultural cooperation. We have been dealing with restitution and provenience. But the Humboldt Forum is not an ordinary museum. And this is what we feel time and again, because sometimes we need a special platform or place, and the collection is never a burden and has never been a burden to us. It's an opportunity, it's a chance to embark on a new relationship with the global south and other parts of the world, i.e. we need to be courageous, we need to dare a new discourse, I'd say. And collaboration is a major gain. More than 80 partners have been here since last week. Bolivia, Korea, Nebraska. Many countries have been here. I mean, people from many countries. And we had lots of workshops, and we had a concluding debate yesterday. And it's also important to look at what our partners want. This is about the future of things. It's about the environment. It's about resources. Restitution, how to handle restitution. What do we do? Cooperation of communities. What is the new museum about for us? It's very important to react after the workshop. So we should not only jot down some notes. We need to further develop the Humboldt Forum. We need to further develop what we do, and we need to furthermore change the Humboldt Forum. Cooperation, collaboration, co-responsibility, well, maybe not, maybe that's too big a word, but cooperation and the possibility of co-shaping, that's what we have felt in these last 2 days. And this is what we need in order to establish the structures so that we can go out. The colonial context of the collection is very important, which, however, requires restitution there where restitution is just and right. And I'm very happy that we have moved forward a major step. The Benin Bronzes, the second biggest number of bronzes we have here in the world after the British Museum. And a lot has been sent back. And what you see here is not owned by the SPK anymore. It's owned by Nigeria today. And that's important, actually. And this is what I felt when talked to our partners in the last few years, which have become our friends in Nigeria, in Abuja and elsewhere. And for them, it's been important to have these bronzes here, or some of them here, and show them to the world. So we are grateful that 1/3 of the objects, the exhibits, can remain here. There are loans, and this is but the beginning of a long-term cooperation. And the exhibition concept for the 2 halls, I mean, I would like to thank the curators once again. They have reshaped, redesigned the halls, the galleries within 6 months after the restitution. Also, the history of the Kingdom of Benin, the importance of the object, and contemporary art. I mean, what is happening today? projects by bronze casters who are working in the city today, in Benin City today, concepts, exhibition concepts from there. I mean, this is the kind of cooperation I love. This is what I would like to see. And there needs to be a follow-up. There will be a follow-up, and there needs to be even more follow-up. Namibia. Let me mention Namibia. I was in May. In Namibia, we returned objects which had been chosen by colleagues who worked with the collection before the pandemic. 21 objects have been returned, which were missing in their collections. They date from the 1860s, 1870s, before the German protective zone had been established, and they have been returned. I mean, it was not illegal or unjust, but it was necessary to return them, because this is part of the history. I mean, if you look at these objects, if you look at what happens to them, they are in a museum now, in a city east of Windhoek. And if you look at what designers and curators do there in Namibia today, they are a source of inspiration to them. So what we do is good. With Tanzania, Cameroon, and Angola, there are similar processes. But it's not Africa only, Amazonia also. Brazil, Colombia, indigenous communities. It's important to really consider, respect and consider indigenous knowledge, the world as a round house. That's the major topic we are showing here. Yesterday, the representatives of the communities talked about indigenous embassies. I mean, why not? There's a lot we can do, and we really have to figure out how to further intensify our cooperation. Or the Northwest Coast in Canada, the collections, Jacobson in the late 19th century, and later collections. So we need artists who show the indigenous perspective here too. So this is about restitution. Benin, Tanzania would be the buzzwords. It's about returning history, Namibia, and it's also about cooperating in curating in order to have as many positions as possible, in order to admit many positions. But this is also about the historical importance and significance of the object. It's not only about the colonial context. Many of our partners in the last 2 years have reminded us that we should also focus on the histories of the objects, because these are stories which need to be told. They are important for the societies of origin. So we are grateful for having an opportunity to show the reliefs and the thinking heads from Benin. But it's also important to underline what they are in terms of history, or the Sozela building from the late 16th century in the South American collection, which is also important because it draws our attention to a moment in time just before the Spanish colonial conquest and the time after. Now, this is what we try to capture: genealogies, territories of dominance. These are exciting topics we need to see, and we need to focus on our Asian theater. Fundamental questions of the human existence. These are exciting questions, and as you can see, it's fascinating to see all this in the exhibitions. Now, the Humboldt Forum is in the center of Berlin. It's located in the center of Berlin, and something new has come out of it. Museums are connected. I mean, the castle, the old collections, the ethnographic collections were originally here in the building and eventually moved over to the Museum Island. Now they are returning, and they are now occupying the Humboldt Forum, which is going to be a center for science and cooperation and culture. Now the Museum Island and the Humboldt Forum together, that's our idea of a globalized world in the 21st century. We would like to develop this idea of a globalized world. Alexander von Humboldt once said about indigenous people that when he met indigenous communities, when he traveled at the Orinoco that we need to see the cultural developments in all parts of the world in order to understand what the world is, actually. I mean, there are lots of crosslinks, connections. Cultural comparison was on our agenda yesterday at the panel, too. There are examples. The African sculptures in the Bode Museum will be continued here in the Humboldt Forum, and we will have Asian culture in addition, or Gandhara sculptures here in the building. To compare them one day with the originals, the inspirations of religious art, Goethe and Hafiz, the European influence on the Islamic empire and vice versa, and the relationship between China and Europe, the mutual influences. These are exciting topics. These are stories written by humankind. We could go and say the whole world is on an island, the Museum Island and the Humboldt Forum. Nevertheless, the times are changing and things are changing. Like, you talk about the Universal Museum, which is a concept of the late 19th, early 20th century, and the Universal Museum implies that there is one center of interpretation, which is, so to speak, Europe or America, the Western world. But this is not true anymore. Today, we should rather talk about the pluriversal museum of the 21st century, one which allows for many different perspectives in view of the world. And there is another aspect I would like to underline, because those who have watched and had a close look at what has happened in the last 10 or 15 years will certainly know what I mean. We need to give answers also with respect to the ecological crisis, the climate crisis, famine, and many other things suffered by the world, in the world. This is another mission of the Humboldt Forum. We have the collections and we need to see them in a historical, a long-term perspective, but we also need to cooperate with communities, NGOs, experts from many different fields, maybe in a new form in order to find answers to these more recent questions, to contemporary questions. The Humboldt Forum could also be a learning community, right? In order to help better the world, right? I think we need to learn from mistakes in order to do better, in order to shape our future. I think as far as colonial injustice is concerned, we are doing quite well. I mean, it's still a long way to go, and we are open to go this way with you. But I think it's also important to dare a new discourse, as I said, and if not here, where should we do this? And with respect to the discourse, I will give the floor to another group of people on stage in a minute, but I would like to thank the restaurators and the curators and all teams who have been involved in making this wonderful project possible. I would also like to thank our partners all over the world. They help us keep our eyes open and see what is going on. This is extremely helpful, this is extremely productive, and this is what the Humboldt Forum needs. Thank you very much, and now I would like to ask Andrea, Scholz and Anke Daemgen to host a wonderful panel discussion with people who tell you a bit more about what we do here. Thank you.
We're missing Sabini. There she is. Is this on? Is it on? They switch on when we run. Yes, good morning also from my side. My name is Andrea Scholz. As Mr. Parzinger already said, I work in the Ethnological Museum and the Museum of Asian Art as a curator for Transcultural Cooperation. And I have the honor now to welcome our guests on the stage, and we will have a small discussion. But first of all, I would like to say a few words. The guests are representatives of more or less 80 people who were really present in the last days. We had a wonderful meeting. It was so beautiful, and I really would like to thank you again, because yesterday it was a bit abrupt, the end, and I would take the chance now to say thank you. And as one of the organizers, we were really surprised, because we were not sure if you would join us all the time, and it was a very concentrated atmosphere. And I think we had a so beautiful collective process. It was not like people coming on stage and I'm the one who knows. It was really a collective, and I think we have now many, not only great ideas, but maybe a new way to think and to organize and to live the Humboldt Forum. And this is for me very important, and also for my colleagues. I'm sure that I can speak for all of them. Yeah, so thank you for your messages. We have heard them, and they will define our work from now. I can guarantee this from my side, and I think also from the side of my colleagues. And I liked what Mr. Parzinger said about the pluriversal museum. I think this is the way we have to take now. So this is all from my side, and so I would like to hand over to Anke Daemgen.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Anke Daemgen. I'm head of exhibitions in the Stiftung Humboldt Forum. So my team and we were responsible for enabling the development and the realization of the 5 temporary exhibitions, which Hartmut Dorgerloh already pointed to. And I'm also very grateful that we can be here with you, that we had the last few days with these really intense and very productive workshops, and that we had the chance to have so many encounters and meetings of all these great ideas and these many people. And so even before we had these workshops, the cooperation, and a very wide range of cooperation, has been ongoing for a long time and for many years. And as has been pointed out already, some of these outcomes you will see upstairs in the exhibitions shortly. Maybe some of you have had the chance to be an early bird and go there and already look at them and get a glimpse of it. The cooperation has also led to many jointly developed educational programs, as well as artistic programs that will not only be here over the weekend, but also on the weekend. So you're very much invited to join over the weekend. And the exhibitions, you will see, differ a lot. They differ in the way the curatorial practices have been structured, how the groups and teams have been put together. They differ in the approach, how the themes will have been addressed, and they also differ, you've heard it before, in the exhibition design, which is, I think, very striking in some of the exhibitions, how differently you can actually address these different subjects. My first question I would like to address to Wainima Morris, who's an Omaha member and a teacher a lecturer at the Nebraska Indian Community College. And the exhibition which Wainima, you worked on, and you will recognize it when you go upstairs. There's a large showcase in the middle surrounded by a circle with upright life-size screens. It's called Against the Current, the Omaha, Francis Laflèche and his collection. And you came here to Berlin first in October 2018. You've been back another time, and now that you could come here and see the finished exhibitions after many digital meetings and all sorts of exchange in the meantime, what was your impression of the show here? And can you say what's most important to you in having worked on this exhibition together?
Well, for me, and I don't speak just for myself, but I think also on behalf of my teammates who were collaborative in working with the Humboldt Forum for this day. I think it was a very a momentous moment for all of us to actually see the things that we had worked on over the many months, in particular as being interrupted by COVID, to see that our thoughts, our ideas, and our many long hours of discussion to see it in reality. The things that we were each projecting and thinking as to how we could best portray this collection by Francis Lafleche. And so it was breathtaking, very profound for me, and I was not prepared for my response, which was, it brought tears to my eyes again, the first time being in 2018 when we actually met our materials in a very, again, meaningful way. We could touch them, we could connect with them, and it was meeting the old Omahas, the traditional old Omahas as best preserved through these items by Francis Lafleche, and that was a very emotional moment, and I thought I was past that. I was not. Even though we had planned and met on Teams or sometimes Zoom. And walking in and seeing it was stunning. It took my breath away once again, and it was very emotional. But it was very important once again to see and connect in a different way with our historical and cultural past. And it was very meaningful. And I think our message to the world is that we need to forget those stereotypic ways of thinking of particularly indigenous peoples, that we are savage, primitive, and uncivilized, and we are none of those things. And so it offers for me and my colleagues an opportunity to begin to reverse that message with meaningful dialogue, meaningful information, and to continue as we go along, to reverse that kind of thinking and to be able to take, I think, our rightful place in the world as contributors to mankind, period. So that's what was.
Thank you so much, Wainima. Voy a hablar español ahora para hacer una pregunta a
I'm going to speak English to ask Diana Guzman a question. As you should see here, she is a teacher at an indigenous secondary school called Enosimar in Mitu, Colombia. She is I would like to ask you, as Wainima said, this connection with the artifacts, with the cultural elements, has been very important for her. And you've also always said that it is your grandparents. They aren't simply objects, they are your grandparents, they are your ancestors. And so we talked about this fact, we talked about this at the conference, that collaboration goes beyond the exhibitions. It doesn't end here in the museum. So I would like for you to tell us a little bit more about that. Also in your work as a teacher and your work with the communities. Thank you very much. Well, the collections, as they are called here, these are our grandmothers, our grandfathers that are present there. They live here with you today. But for us, from the high Rio Negro, the Rio Negro region, for our brothers and sisters are the peoples, the communities of the Rio Negro region. They are our grandparents. They are still alive. And I would also like to add that we as indigenous peoples from this region of the high Rio Negro, we have not disappeared. Our culture is not dead. It has not disappeared. We are alive. We are here. Our culture lives on. and our grandparents who are here. They are a bridge and a call for new generations to work together so we can move towards that, towards continuing to strengthen our cultures, that youths in schools, that in their education, in addition to the curricula of the state, that they also have access to education about our culture, where we strengthen our culture. So what we are doing today, this is merely a first step of a very, very long road, a very, very long path that we will walk on, a first step that will allow us to meet, to re-encounter those who are not here anymore, our ancestors who are no longer present, but also with those who are still alive, and also to keep working so that these cultures stay alive. Our goal as indigenous peoples is to stay alive, to work with strength, so we will achieve this. So we have to seek many different strategies. We have to work together, not just with museums, not just communities, but all of the peoples who are present here today, and any who are necessary, so we can continue to live, to survive, and to be alive with everything in a rich life.
So I think what Diana said, many people here in the room can identify with. And the next question goes to you, Sabini, because I know that identity and maybe also future generations is a topic in the Naga exhibition. So I would like to hear from you as a photographer and artist. What are your thoughts about this?
Thank you very much. The process towards this exhibition has been long, but very fruitful, I think. We started out with a blank idea, actually, like a blank space. We just had the objects in the museum. And I was very surprised to be invited as a curatorial team because I'm not from any institutions. I'm just a photographer. But I think the idea was to do something that was different, and not just because for the sake of difference, but to make it more vibrant, more alive. And that was the idea towards looking at the objects. Our idea was not to study the objects as an object, but to really bring it, give it a life, because it is still a living object to my community, to my people. Although a lot of them have not seen these objects, and we have lost a lot of these objects, we still remember them, and we still, to this date, manufacture them. Maybe the designs may not be the same. Maybe we are losing the knowledge of how to make it. But we remember them, and we celebrate them in many different ways. And I think that was the idea towards this exhibition. And so it is more of a narrative of the people, of the Naga people. It is more of a story telling, introducing to Berlin the story of the lives and the culture of the Naga people. So it was a very, very fruitful, but sometimes difficult journey. Also, the 2 years of COVID did not make matters too easy, but I think we managed to do that. The design of the exhibition and the content became very important to express the idea behind the exhibition. There are a lot of contemporary objects in the exhibition. I have 2 artists with me here who have also contributed to the exhibition because we wanted to make the culture of the Nagas a very living culture that is still continuing. We want to introduce this culture to the people here. And just as many of my colleagues here have expressed, this is not a dead culture. We continue to live, we continue to thrive, and we continue to express ourselves even today in very different ways. We are very grateful that these objects have been preserved the way they have been here, but I also question the people of Berlin. Do you know what these objects mean? You have it here with you, but do you even know them? And so yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Sabini. You mentioned the term objects, and this has been one of the terms that's been much discussed over the last few days as well, because for many of the guests that are here now, the term objects did not quite feel right. They found it very unsuitable and not fitting, and there were various discussions about other terms. There was not just one term that everybody agreed on, but among the terms were treasures, were belongings, whether cultural belongings or traditional belongings, and in one group session there was also the question whether it should be called trash and treasures, but I think, or at least to the people I spoke to, belongings was a term that many felt comfortable with. And Dapuvashali, you worked on and were involved in an exhibition that in the end does not show any of these belongings as the original. You are the acting director of the Museum Association of Namibia, and I would like to ask you to tell us a bit more how you and the association were involved in the selection of the research questions that were addressed to the collection that's in the Ethnographic Museum, and how you selected the research partners and how the work here could then be implemented in your work actually in Namibia itself.
Okay, so I think I need to start off with saying when we came on as a team, we had a plan that was, and we had a very defined focus. So the belongings that are in our exhibition or that are featured in our exhibition are all related to fashion, because at the end of the day, we wanted to use them to inspire a museum of Namibian fashion. Our exhibition, which is one of the reasons why there are no actual belongings in the exhibition. Our exhibition is a small part of a much bigger collaborative project. So for us, our focus has and probably always will be the Namibian community more than any other community. So for us, it was a sense of an act of defiance to say these belongings have been here, have been away from home for a very long time, and we're not going to keep them in an exhibition far from home. So all of the artifacts or the belongings in our collection are back home currently, and they're held by the National Museum of Namibia, but they have inspired through different consultative workshops, etc. They've inspired the collection at the Museum of Namibian Fashion. So to develop that, knowing that was the end goal, we work closely with the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, so of course the National Museum of Namibia, and we work closely with educators, with fashion designers, with culture officers, and those created an advisory board who then did the selection process, which was not an easy process. There are over, I think, 4,400 Namibian artifacts in the collection here, and we eventually only took home 23. And it was deliberate in that we spent years trying to refine what to take home, what to include in the collection, and what it would say. So the criteria of selecting the artifacts were then established by our advisory board, and we based them on questions like rarity currently. Unfortunately, for some of the artifacts, they're no longer common in our day-to-day life, but they are part of our material culture, as my colleagues are saying, that is still alive to us. And then there are things like aesthetics, because they are going into they're meant to inspire a museum of fashion. And then there are questions about things like cultural and spiritual significance. So it was a very long, complicated and very sensitive process that went into both the selection of the artifact, the return, and then the way that they are presented in our exhibition here. So the only actual physical object or artifact that's in our exhibition here was made particularly for the exhibition by the late Cynthia Shimming, who was a Namibian fashion designer. So that is, I think that's how we differ a little bit with regards to our exhibition and the artifacts or lack thereof in our exhibition.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Next to working with international partners from very wide range of countries and regions in the world, here in the Humboldt Forum we also attempt to work with different communities within Berlin, and Feride is here as one of the representatives, again, one representative of many diverse groups, as the entire stage, as Andrea already pointed out, it's a small selection, and there are so many more people that were involved. Feride, we're grateful you're here. You are the chairperson and speaker of the European Center for Sufism and Interreligious Encounters, and I do admit I had to read it. Can you please tell us how the exhibition that you worked on and you were involved, called Aspects of Islam, where different groups with different directions of the Islamic belief worked on designing showcases, giving interviews. Can you please tell us what you found most interesting about this and your input?
For sure. But I would prefer to speak in German.
You're welcome.
Because I feel more good when I speak in German. And I think this is very exponential. Ich fühle mich einfach wohler und sicherer in meiner
So as I was saying, I just feel better speaking German, which is my everyday language. And I think that to feel safe and secure and to feel good is a key demand everyone has. As Muslim communities who were working with aspects of Islam here in Berlin, we link up with these feelings here at the Humboldt Forum, that we were feeling so safe in this collaboration. We were really feeling well. And I would like to say thank you to the curators, Ms. Schindebeck and Ms. Krebs. Our curators gave us the feeling from the start to being able to presenting ourselves as freely as we would like to present ourselves in private, in our communities, and in our collaboration with other communities in public. So this platform for me as a representative of my own Muslim community, but of Muslim communities in general, so this platform opens the possibility to present ourselves freely next to other communities, next to other cultures which are alien to the German culture. And Islam, which has been at home in Germany for so many decades, is beautiful, and it brings more with it than Humboldt Forum in itself could portray. But I would say that Muslims who practice their beliefs as German citizens every day here in Germany, expressing themselves and bringing historic objects that they have co-shaped and which in their importance have co-developed with Muslims in Germany, that is especially important. We're very thankful for that, and we're looking forward to many encounters, and we would like to bring in more aspects of Islam communities, but also more aspects of other beliefs, religions, and cultures. We would like to see all that represented here. Thank you.
So thank you all for your statements. Before handing over to Lars Koch, who deserves some time as well, we are nearly at the end, I would like to direct one more question to all of you. As you have been participating now in the last days of our workshops, and you were in Dahlem, saw the collections, many of you already knew them, but for some of you they were new. And you are participating now. We still have the weekend, but then we have to work. We have to continue working, and we would really like to ask you, what is your message and what are your expectations and your wishes and also advices that you would like to live with us here in Berlin. Maybe, Wainima, do you want to start?
No.
No? Okay. ¿Quieres que repita? O?
Yeah.
Bueno. Sí.
Bueno.
Well,
Mi mensaje.
Sí,
my message.
¿Qué esperas también, no? Tus esperanzas.
What do you expect? What are your hopes? I think that, as I said before, this is a first step. But this first step is also an invitation. It is an invitation for all of us to walk together towards a strengthening of our diverse cultural identities here and in the world. For us to work towards the future of our children, of our children's children, because that is the legacy that we will leave them. But at the same time, we need willpower. We need the will of the institutions and of us to continue working. We need a true will that stems from our hearts. That has to be the essence of who we really are, to leave this to humanity. Thank you.
Continue.
Okay. I think from my end, I would just say that we've been talking a lot the last week about collaborations and collaborative projects. And I think at the heart of a collaborative project should be transparency, equity and equality, and a common goal. I think once that's developed, you can then develop the understanding, mutual understanding, the understanding of different cultural sensitivities and diplomacy that go towards then having a methodology with regards to your collaborations that is mutually beneficial and mutually respectful. With that, I think without that baseline of respect and transparency, you won't go very far. So I think that is how we, I guess, at least from our side, would recommend the processes move forward. Yeah.
I agree, absolutely. I agree. There are wonderful projects, wonderful events in Berlin and all over Germany. But of course, we do need long-term cooperation. We need to collaborate in the long run. The workshops we've had in the last few days are important, but they were not long enough in order to truly and intensively work on solutions and find future perspectives. We need more time because we don't have enough time to save the world, but we need time to work on it.
Well, from my side, I would just say that this wonderful building that's been built, this colossal monument of a sort, let it not go to waste. Let the collaboration continue, but in many different ways, because I think collaborations can go much more beyond than just having exhibitions within a closed space. You can have collaborations with many different artists, through songs, through literature, through films, in many different ways. You look at all the material culture that is in the museums. For the Nagas, this is the first time you'll be seeing. They have a voice now. Give them more of a voice. When the focus here was to bridge the gap, I think, between communities. I think we should continue that, like I said, in many different ways. Can we change the world? Well, we can't. We don't know about that, but we can try to do that at least. So, yeah, that's what I have to say.
I think for the Omahas, Native people, the indigenous in America, we always have a vision. That's where we start. And our vision is that, first of all, I support every one of the expression of the next steps. We see it as a beginning, and where do we go from here? We have some definite ideas, and we can only hope that we can continue to work together in a collaborative spirit, and to be authentic with one another, and to be as transparent, is what I've heard, which is very important, because this is where our integrity and our honesty as human beings shines through. And so in the collection, it is very, very important to us because it sort of bridges that gap of historical trauma, or as a part of it, to overcome that and to reconnect with our beautiful past that has been so much suppressed through boarding schools and forced assimilation. And we now are at that point where we really don't speak our language. We hardly know what our clan and kinship system is. We often forget how to address one another because we don't use first names, but how we can use this both as living energy of things, and to bring that and reintroduce that into the lives of our community. We still have strong ties, however, despite the other things I just mentioned, that could probably be sparked and ignited to reintroduce ourselves to ourselves once again, and to realize that our worldview, our ways of interacting in the world were absolutely beautiful. It worked for us. It sustained us for thousands and thousands of years. And so the next steps in the collaboration here is to continue this dialogue, to perhaps even at some point arrange for actually bringing them back to Nebraska. And then for our nation through NICC to bring our elderly, particularly our young ones, so that they can take pride in being Omaha, and that perhaps we begin learning Omaha in the home as opposed to learning Omaha in school and at the college. So it's very important. It serves as a very important link, but if they don't know about it, and people do, they too want to see these. They want to be able to have some visual contact in real time, not in a video or a film. Although in the least case scenario, that may be what we'll have to serve. So my vision alone, and I think I might reflect the others' vision, is to bring this at some point to use as a tool to reintroduce those materials or those belongings back into the lives of the Omaha, to reflect the beauty, to reflect the know-how, to sustain ourselves as Omaha, and to make our identities in the world as strong as they once were. And yeah, so that's I'm getting too wordy and maybe emotional, but this is how strongly I feel about it. So the next steps would be, final line, to continue the collaboration and the cooperative work that we have here. And let us talk and you listen.
Thank you all very much for sharing these pieces of advice, wishes, and your expectations and hopes. We're now handing over the stage to Lars Christian Koch. All of these ladies here on stage will be around for questions afterwards, but they will also be upstairs in the galleries, just as much as you can then speak to all, or at least a large variety of our other guests who will be around in the exhibition. Yeah, and one last remark, please come on the weekend. This chance will not come again. It's unique, and yeah, please tell your friends, your neighbors, everyone else that it will be a really special weekend here, and it's definitely worth coming.
Come for us.
Dear partners, dear guests, let me first of all thank our international partners, the guests we've had with us this week. It was a wonderful climax. We had an opportunity to see that the work we have done in the last few years have become part of an overall perspective and of a community which we have enjoyed in the last few days in particular. Many different people with many different ideas and goals in many different groups. We've enjoyed it very much. Now, according to the program, I was meant to explain what our exhibitions are about. And let me tell you, I'm not going to go into detail. A lot has been said here. I should not stand in front of you and talk about exhibitions. Our partners could describe much better. So for me, it's much more important to say the Humboldt Forum is open. The galleries in the third and second floor are open. They are part of our museum now. Now, the exhibitions in the East Wing will be complemented by exhibitions in the West Wing, and we have the Southern Cube. This is the Silk Road, Himalaya, East Asia, a study collection, the House Cube, Oceania will be part of it. And the Boat Cube also offers a new object, a new exhibit, which is a result of the relationships we've established in the course of working on the West Wing. And this is what I've focused on a lot in the last few months, which is the statement concerning the overall exhibition. Now, we've talked about collaboration a lot. Now you can see, now you can experience, and that's why we can say today the Humboldt Forum is open. And this is not a final point, a concluding moment. We will have to work furthermore on it, and I will like to give you some details here in a minute. But it's important to underline that there are a number of formats we will have a closer look at in the exhibitions. The media stations, for example, haven't been mentioned yet. We've designed them together with our partners, and you will find more of it in the future. Education will also be more important here. We will have a more collaborative approach too. We will work with our colleagues. We did work with our colleagues from Nigeria and Benin already. We've worked a lot on the education, and these will be future formats too. I would like to mention the family areas too. We don't want to be an exhibition or a museum for experts only. We would like to attract the broad public, and communication is also important. Mr. Dorgerloh has mentioned the publication already. This is the museum guide I'm showing you here, and provenance research. That's an important field for us too. This is a translation of our provenance guide into English. Now, we have also set up a number of provenance tracks and tracers all over the galleries, and we will focus on ever new objects and also in order to underline this aspect time and again in a collaborative approach. Now, if you look at the exhibitions in the second floor, on the second floor, you will see the Tanzania exhibition. This is a workshop exhibition because we would like to show processes. We don't want to show a finished exhibition only. And you should also have a closer look at this particular sector or segment. And it will change too in the interaction with our partners. And then you move on, walk through the Benin section. As Hartmut Dorgerloh has told you already, this has changed a lot in the last 6 months. This has been a collaborative approach Two, South America is also complete now. A lot of cooperation. Mrs. Scholz has talked about partners. And then we have the archaeological collections, Central America, South America, the Humboldt Stream, a key exhibition for us. And then we will have the area for temporary exhibitions. Omaha is on, and as you have just heard, We Talk, You Listen, a key exhibition. The West Coast, the Jacobson collection, another important topic we've talked about with the community, and there is a lot to expect here. Asian art. Now, all these areas are places where you can interact with the collection. On the third floor, you see Incomparable. This is an exhibition we have made from the Berlin perspective, i.e. the curators in Berlin have closely collaborated with the communities. Then Cambodia, Southeast Asia. Here we are focusing on religion and Buddhism. We have excellent pieces and exhibits. Some copies of pieces made in the 19th century already. This needs to be underlined. This has been an early exhibition and it's been very important. Asian theater. We show our collection in a historical perspective with a contemporary performance on a huge screen. Another experience you should not miss. And then we have the Sabini Lota exhibition, which is certainly one of the highlights we are offering in terms of its design and in terms of its message. So Central Asia and Islam in the galleries offers you an idea of the debates we are having in Berlin each and every day. Now, this has been a brief look at our exhibitions. You might have seen the exhibitions already in the morning, and now after the press conference you will get an opportunity to join our partners and have them accompany you through the exhibitions. I would like to thank our partners, therefore, once again. And as I said, I wanted to briefly ponder on the idea of the collaborative or cooperative museum. We have been in talks with lots of people in those past days. Lots of items have been raised, many ideas and proposals have been made, and we have to focus on all these ideas. This has been an important focus because we have collected lots of ideas, and the question is, of course, what happens now? I mean, we don't want to meet in another year or two in order to find out that we have new ideas, but nothing has happened. So we need to find ways and means to establish the structures so that all this works. In other words, we will need sectors, departments, positions, so that the ideas and proposals can be implemented together with our partners, like the residencies, which is what we would like to focus on very much. We will have lots of guests in the next 3 years. We will work on the contents in the collections. And as Mr. Dorgerloh has told you already, we would like to integrate all these aspects and elements into our exhibitions. And I would like to meet us all again next year in order to focus on the results we will have achieved by them. So let me thank you once again for being here. I would like to thank our international partners once again who will be with us for the next few days too, so you will have an opportunity to talk. And I hope you are as curious and interested in the exhibitions. And I hope that you all take at least one new story home. Thank you.
Ja, wir kommen zu den Fragen.
So this is us at the start of the Q&A session. We're a bit behind schedule, and as said, all our partners who just joined us on the stage, but also everyone here in the room, is going to be available for questions later on in their exhibition spaces. So you can talk to all of them. They will be assisted by and accompanied by my colleagues. So please go into the exhibition spaces and speak to one of the press officers there on site, and we will put you all in order. And also Mr. Dorgerloh, Mr. Parzinger, and Mr. Koch will be there. Mr. Parzinger and Mr. Koch will be in the Benin section, and Mr. Dorgerloh will be in the Omaha temporary exhibition. But of course, they're all here to take your questions now. Also, our international partners, national and international partners who just joined us on stage. Just taking a look around, I can see Mr. Bernau. Please wait for the microphone to be taken to you. Hello, I'm Nikolaus Bernau of Deutschlandfunk Kultur and RBB Radio. I have two questions. For Mr. Koch, you just said that you are intending to continue the project. Is money available for that? On the one hand, is money there to continue the cooperation for the next years, for your staff, and also for the restoration of the 450,000 exhibits who stayed on at the Dahlem exhibition and who were not moved over to the Humboldt Forum? This was my first question. My second question is for Mr. Parzinger. In Hamburg, the Benin sculptures and objects are being returned, and right now the complete stock is put out in an exhibition. To my knowledge, in Berlin, never the whole of the sculptures and objects were shown together, those from Benin. Maybe those exhibits are dated back to before 1926. And are you planning anything like that for Berlin? And if not, why not? Okay, I'll take the question on the financing first. Well, yes, funding is there, not for the complete funding to restore the rest of the 450,000 objects. This is an amount we cannot dispose of right now, but we do have a follow-up funding for residencies and also to accompany and assist the residencies. And this was what I meant when I spoke about creating structures. So we will be working in the shape of projects. We will be working project-based. We need to get started. We need to be quick in that, and we hope to be continuing that work according to what happens in the working structures. We need to take the momentum into the work and start as of the beginning of the next year. Second question, Mr. Bernau, was to me. What it actually goes to Mr. Koch, because this is about curation. Of course, we decided to not showcase all of the 168 loans we've received. We only show around a third of them. And this was a different curatorial decision than the ones taken in Hamburg and in Cologne. I think it was good because in the Benin section, we're also showing other aspects, questions of return, and this is a decision that was taken by the curators, and I absolutely support it. There's another question. Stefan, please. Microphone's coming to you. Please wait for the microphone to come to you. Thank you. So, Mr. Bernau, in Dahlem, almost all of the Benin exhibits were shown. The question was that almost no one wanted to drive out there to Dahlem to visit that exhibition. I have a question from Ms. Hafner, right in the front. Hello there. My question is for Mr. Parzinger and Mr. Koch. What will happen to the Tanzania exhibition? Because there's many void spaces there, many blank spaces left void in the exhibition. I'll start responding to one aspect, and then I'll pass on the microphone, because this exhibition is done by both foundations together. We've already issued a press release to say that the objects that come from the Maji-Maji War and objects from other military campaigns of German troops from the former southwest German Africa, that we will show those objects together. Those objects that came from military campaigns had been decided to be returned already before that. So before we would return the objects, the idea was to sit down with the Namibian and Tanzanian historians. We had a contract with Dar es Salaam, and the history of the Maji-Maji War should be told here in Germany, but it is in the hand of our Tanzanian partners. What will happen to these objects? Well, I'll say something about Tanzania. We went there at the beginning of this year, and finally the contracts were closed, which lay the foundation for this collaboration. We're working on it, but we wanted to show right now that this process is ongoing and that we're designing an exhibition. And shortly, you will be seeing an exhibition that will be changing. And there will be collaborative exhibition design here at the Humboldt Forum. As said, collaborative working is very important for us, but it takes time. And this is what we need to do. As we listen, we need to take our time to listen and then act together. And this is what we're doing. You will see this exhibition. Don't worry. I would like to add two things. First of all, looking into the colonial archives with a focus on East Africa is also a methodological excerpt into the question on how we deal with materials and with objects and with other sources from the exhibition stocks of both museums. And there's a whole lot of new questions arising. This is very exciting workshop times now, which is not so much about exhibiting objects, but it is about methodology and conceiving, designing exhibitions. Our visitors take a great interest in not just seeing the results, but in also seeing the process. As of the beginning of next year, we will have a project here with artists, dancers, artists from Tanzania here at the Humboldt Forum. They will be presenting Vinyago, which is a dance, contemporary art, performance-based project which starts from the objects exhibited in the Dahlem collections and which asks different questions to those objects. And our work isn't just to showcase exhibits in vitrines, but to establish a new relationship with these objects. There are many options to do that. One of these options is to handle the objects from Tanzania in the Vinyago project. I just alluded to it's going to be a multi-day, multi-week event with performances together with the exhibition of the objects as such. I believe it is very important to offer an alternative type of access to these exhibits. Thank you very much. More questions? Hello, I'm Christian Grimm of Augsburger Allgemeine Newspaper. Mr. Parzinger, in your speech, you alluded to the difficulties you saw in the last 15 years with the Humboldt Forum. First of all, the construction phase, which was very debated, and then the ethnological collections that were also very much disputed in Berlin. Now you've changed the concept and the design, colonialism, and the conditions under which the exhibits came to us are supposed to be on display also. So I ask you today, are you showing this exhibition today without a bad conscience? So if someone says this is perfect now, nothing has to be changed, then that would be strange to say. We need to be critical of ourselves always as curators. I did not design this exhibition personally, but I have a very special relationship with this project. As I said, we need to take it from here and continue this work. There will be some exhibits. I'm just thinking of one that I'm thinking of that maybe we wouldn't be showing today. But we respond to these processes in a dialogue with the cultures of origin. We need to stay flexible and respond to that in our collaboration. This is linked up with the point of funding. My colleagues, Mr. Koch and Mr. Dorgerloh, just said it. We now have so many colleagues, international colleagues with us. We've collected ideas, and we should take it from here and continue this exercise, because we do not want to go back into the old tradition of an ethnological museum. I've been learning so much, and I've seen this in the last days, and I think our partners believe this is the same thing for them. It isn't just like them coming to us and leaving us and everything's the same. But it is really about this momentum, this dynamic collaboration. I'm very happy with the point we are at now, but of course we need to continue this work. The different sections were designed by different curators and teams of curators. Everyone has their own handwriting, but the idea is to continue the work. That's essential, that's key, and this is the idea that makes and that will turn Humboldt Forum into a pluriversal museum. Thank you very much. In the interest of everyone gathered here, in the interest of everyone who is waiting to see the exhibitions in person, I would admit one last short question. And after hearing that last question, we will all move up there. Tomorrow, the official opening is at 4 p.m. As representatives of the press, of course, you're most welcome to attend that session. Please send a short email to our presse@humboldt.org email. We will put you on the list. Our State Minister of Culture, Claudia Roth, will take the floor. You will find new photos on the exhibitions, fresh from yesterday. You will find them under humboldtforum.org/press. Now I'm very much looking forward to taking you all up into the second and third floor. You have until 1 p.m. to talk to curators, to restoring artists, and I'm looking forward to that. Wishing you a great day.